It's Café Anyway. Welcome to Café Anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Hello. I'm Mike Matthews, and welcome to the show that is called Mike's Daily Podcast, somewhere in podCastro Valley.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
The last place on earth in the land of Ameritopica. It's cool. I've got this show, and what we do is we go and we look at things that are going on around you, and you might be spending money on, and you shouldn't do that too. That's it. That's all I got for my lyrical intro.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
But this is nice. So I guess we spend a lot of time on our dogs and cats and
Mike's
a lot of money,
Daily
as you probably know.
Podcast.
I might be getting a dog soon.
Yeah.
And instead of having a huge, beautiful, big dog like I had with Basil, I want to have a small, beautiful little dog that's going to be, it needs a home. And so I am quite possibly going to volunteer to adopt this little dog, a female dog this time. And I have two cats that are probably about the same size as this dog. So this should be very interesting. But Diane Keaton loved her dog. She left $5 million. Not to her children, but to her beloved golden retriever, Reggie. Golden retrievers are wonderful dogs. My lovely lady friend and I were in downtown podCastro Valley recently. We were trying to find something that we could put around Rocky the cat's leg to stop him from licking this particular part of his leg. It's something my lovely lady friend is obsessing on. And we have tried putting the cone. They have an e-collar that goes around the neck of a cat. It's like fluffy, almost like a little pillow, like you've taken a pillow and stuck the cat's head through it. And we had it on Rocky for a couple of days because he was continuously licking this one sore. And, well, he got mad at us. He got mad at us and peed on everything. Peed on like two
And here's today's podcast picture.
pieces of furniture, did the other thing on another piece of furniture. It was horrible. Amazing how that problem suddenly resolved itself once he had that collar taken off and he was allowed to go back outside again. Just those two little things made him back to normal, goes back in the litter box now. It's wonderful how you just have to do a little compromise now and then. Oh, your cat won out in that battle, Mike. The podcast picture's not of the cat, but of me and a spaceship. What? Yes, see it at mikesdailypodcast.com. It's one of my really odd pictures. The late great Basil the boxer would probably not approve of letting the cats win. He'd probably be, what? You sold out, Mike. You sold out. Well, Reggie is the beloved golden retriever of the late Diane Keaton. Reggie is a pandemic puppy who brought Diane so much joy in her later years. The dog has been left $5 million in a trust out of her $1 million fortune. So this money will go to everything for including a private home for Reggie, caretakers for Reggie, and also this is to ongoing donations to animal charities. So she wants to help them out as well, all in Keaton's name. So it's not just to Reggie, but to Reggie's
life grand.
Reggie's space. Reggie's species, I guess you could say. So all of that is happening in the world of people who love their pets. Yes, that lady, Leona Helmsley, she left like a bunch of money to her cat or dog or something, I forget. Maybe Taylor Swift will do the same thing because she likes cats. Well, her fans, they actually are very animal conscious. Conscious? Animal friends of the animal world, as they have raised more than $2 million for the Monterey Bay Aquarium Sea Otter program. One of the first live cameras that got a lot of attention. Now there's live cameras of everything. The one I like is the one of San Diego Harbor. There's a guy who just runs this camera all day long, all night long. and you can watch the sailboat. There's so many sailboats in the San Diego harbor, and there's lots to see because you've got the Marine base there, and you see all kinds of planes that fly with the propellers that look like a helicopter 1 second and become a plane in the other second. It's awesome. And in the beautiful skyline of San Diego, I love going to that channel and watching that. So the live feed, live video cameras, that's cool to watch. And Monterey Bay was one of the first to have a camera.
News random
of their sea otters playing around in their little tank that they have. It's fun to watch. One of the absolute highlights when you go visit the Monterey Bay Aquarium, which I have not done. It was a gift given to me by my boss when I worked in Ventura County Radio at KHAY. My boss, the late Mark Hill, he also went by Mark James. He gave me as a wedding present tickets to the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And since my ex-wife and I, see how that went. My then wife and I were staying in Carmel. It was right next to Monterey. So we went and checked out the aquarium. And we saw these wonderful sea otters playing. And I think it's one of the most expensive places to go to if you want to go to like a tourist type place in California. It is really expensive to go to now. But yes, we saw the sea otters. The pop star Taylor Swift gave
Mike's scavenger hunt.
As I'm scavenging through this story, gave the Coastal Institution an unexpected shout out earlier this month by wearing a vintage Monterey Bay Aquarium t-shirt. This was in the behind the scenes footage from one of her new music videos. And so Monterey Bay is also very famous, the Monterey Bay Aquarium, for one of the Star Trek movies. And it's the one where Spock comes back to life after he died. He was resurrected with some kind of Genesis device. Well, you gotta give me the Genesis device, said Christopher Lloyd as one of the Klingons. And then, so they go back to late 1980s, early 90s, Bay Area. They're in San Francisco for a little bit of the movie.
For your entertainment.
What?
The one.
Who?
The only. Mike Matthews.
Here I am. Yeah, so they go down to the Monterey Bay Aquarium, and I think they're trying to get a whale. I forget what it was. So it's a famous place for various things. Now Taylor Swift. Her fans, otherwise known as Swifties, are those fans of the great author Tom Swift, who wrote Gulliver's Travels and A Modest Proposal. Modest Proposal? The one that talked about eating, basically a form of cannibalism that I will not go into any further detail about, but I was required to read that in high school. Well, Swifties were quick to take note, and the aquarium reported that it received an influx of $13 donations, which was a nod to her lucky number, the lucky number 13. Some people call it an unlucky number.
Yo, the Mike tip.
My tip to you is, hey, if you go to a building, some buildings, old buildings, check out to see if you go in the elevator, how many floors they have. Some don't even have a 13th floor. And then I think it was the Being John Malkovich movie that said that there was a 13th floor, but it was like a miniature floor. And the rent was really cheap there. And that's where they went to go, and they found that, was it a secret door that went into the brain of John Malkovich. That was an odd movie. Do I have that on DVD? I don't think so. No, wait. I think I might. I don't know. But you can go to your local library and probably rent it out there. Because it was an odd piece of film. Had John Cusack and the gal from who later was what was it? I think she got an Academy Award for that. Cameron Diaz was in it. And who was the lady who was in?
Wow, Shuts, wow.
I can't remember. Wow. My mom, whenever she was surprised, Catherine Keener, by something she say, wow, Shuts, wow. Speaking of my mom, and speaking of movies and entertainment and movie stars and all that, she got to go, I was thinking about this today, she got to go to quite a few wrap parties. When a movie is done filming, they do a wrap party. And she went to a couple, probably in every decade, let's see, 60s, 70s, and 80s. She went to at least one wrap party. The one in the 60s, I think, was for a Rock Hudson movie. Might have been Pillow Talk, because my dad was a stand-in for Rock Hudson. And my mom told me years later that while she was there, she noticed a young man kind of off to himself, seemed like out of place, not with anyone. So she was saying that might have been one of Rock Hudson's guys.
Newsbleed section.
One of the people he was involved with, as I bring that to you in the Newsbleed section. The other interesting bit of info was that she, in the 70s, got to go to the wrap party for the Blues Brothers and remembered that there was, I don't know if she actually saw cocaine being used, but it was quite often known in the stories surrounding that movie that John Belushi was quite the partier and would disappear and had quite the... And John Landis, the director of the movie, had to yell at him for his drug use. And then my mom also went to the wrap party of a movie called Looker, which was a Michael Crichton movie that featured Albert Finney as the lead male in this, and Susan Day as the lead female. Susan Day of the Brady Bunch. No, Partridge Family. Albert Finney got popular later on in the Aaron Brockovich movie.
The Myclopedia Insanity.
All this fascinating information in my brain that I'm bringing to you right now in my Myclopedia Insantica. And she said that Albert Finney was drunk and actually talked to her for a little bit. So I remember those both in all those different decades and different movie stars. Looker was not a popular movie. In fact, I didn't even see it till it was being shown late at night on a cable channel, like in the late 90s, and I saw it. And what's interesting about this movie, it's got, what's his name? James Coburn. That's it. James Coburn is the villain. And James Coburn had been in the Our Man Flint movies. And was that it? James Coburn was in, or was that Dean Martin? He also did some kind of a, I am doing some on the fly looking stuff up. Our Man Flint movie was James Coburn, yeah. They may have done one movie. I forget. I'll dive deeper into that. Interesting. 1966.
Matthew's news.
My news to you about that. Our Man Flint, James Coburn. So I did actually get to go on the set while they were filming Looker. And there was a scene, there was a bunch of TVs, and Albert Finney was sitting behind some kind of weird apparatus that was looking at his eye, and he's looking at the screens, kind of like a Clockwork Orange type thing that they did with Malcolm McDowell, who I once met in Ojai, California, but many people that live in Ojai run into him, and Mary Steenburgen. And then, so he's looking at there's something to do with, well, this movie, Looker, actually predicted a lot of things that are happening to us today. In fact, I commented on a YouTube channel that was talking about it, and they did a fantastic job digging into how, so this movie is all about, they would take beautiful models like Susan Day, and they would scan her and then take her information and make a computer image of her.
It's a nightmare of a show.
It was a nightmare of a show because you would be watching like a TV show with this fake computer-generated image, and it would be beaming into your eyeballs some kind of subliminal psychological stuff that would make you do things and brainwash you. And it was all about brainwashing. It was about the U.S. government brainwashing its citizens, and we have that kind of thing going on now with social media where we're brainwashed in various ways. There's all kinds of stuff around us that reiterate things that maybe we wouldn't have believed a couple years ago, but then we see the same postings over and over again, or we get involved with a celebrity we really like, and we then follow them, and then we get converted. All of that's in this movie. somewhat. It did not do well.
First of all, I just want to thank everyone for joining us here on this show. This is great.
You are always welcome. And I was remembering that I got to go on set and see the filming of where they're looking at Albert Finney's eye. Oh, yeah, they want to see what you're looking at when you're watching a commercial. And, of course, there's a beautiful woman, so Albert Finney's looking at her legs, and this device is able to scan where your eye looks. Well, in many ways now, Google and Meta and everybody can see what we're looking at online. Not necessarily what specific part of the screen we're looking at, but definitely what pages we're looking at, what we're searching for, etc. So Michael Crichton did this movie, who later did the Jurassic Park movies. I don't know if he directed Jurassic Park. No, that was Spielberg. But Michael Crichton directed this movie, Looker, and I got to see him that day because he was directing the scene, and he was a very tall man. Tall. Ginormous, you could say. And I remember we left. We were there, actually, they were filming the scene. We were off to the side watching, and then we had to go. We couldn't be there very long, and we passed by James Coburn, who was walking the other way.
The whiny
and then what I'm going to whine about...
list.
My wine list here today is that, oh my gosh, the food table they had of cheese and cold cuts looked amazing. I want to work at a job that's got that every day, although it probably wouldn't be very healthy. But yes, that's my only thing to whine about at the moment. But brace yourself. It's another interesting world where Kohler, remember they make those wonderful faucets and whatnot and sinks and everything. They have launched Dakota, that's spelled with a K, Dakota. It's a $600 toilet seat camera. The camera, placed in the most intrusive place humanly possible, requires fingerprint sign-in and uses an optical sensor in order to analyze your gut health and hydration. In addition to any concept of privacy, you'll need to relinquish $156 annually for the app. And it is using an optical sensor to check out, and I don't know, just as from this article exactly, if it's looking down or looking up. And that's about as far as I will go into exploring what this is about. But another thing, and this is my whiny white man wine list, is I'm whining about how much we talk about protein, because there are protein Pop-Tarts, as you've probably seen. Packaged food companies are betting on protein to lure back health-conscious shoppers. But one Pop-Tart, don't forget, they're not very healthy for you to begin with. One Pop-Tart has 60% of your daily sugar limit. You eat one of those, better keep it to one, because you've already got 60% of what your limit should be for sugar. And it's not even a dessert. Oh, it just drives me crazy. It is a cliche, this whole protein thing. I wish we wouldn't be so
What's the cliche of the week?
brainwashed by that word.
What's the cliche of the week?
But hey,
What's the cliche of the week?
I don't know if Michael Crichton predicted that as well.
What's the cliche of the week?
Michael Crichton also had a movie called Congo. And so my mom's second husband actually worked on a couple of Michael Crichton things, like this movie Looker. And Congo was going to be made back in the 80s.
What's the cliche of the week?
I think it was later made in the
What's
90s
the cliche of the week?
with Tim Curtin.
What's the cliche
Tim
of the
Curry.
week?
Tim Curry, I think.
What's the cliche of the week?
Yeah, actually, it came out in 95, mid-90s. How did that even do? Well, I remember seeing a little bit of the script. The ex-stepfather brought that home, the script, and I remember seeing it go, oh, wow. They're making a movie called Congo, the next Michael Crichton thing. I knew Michael Crichton had been big from stuff like Omega Man and the Andromeda Strain, and had heard about Jurassic Park, but they hadn't made a movie yet of it. But with the success of Jurassic Park, they made this Congo movie because they said, hey, Michael Crichton, he's writing stuff that's popular. It was a 1980s novel by Michael Crichton. Laura Linney is in it. Who's she? Love Actually. She's the only American in there. Tim Curry. And I don't know. Let's see. It said, after the success of the first great train robbery, Crichton decided to write a screenplay specifically for Sean Connery as the character Charles Monroe, an archetypal great white hunter akin to H. Rider Haggard's hero, Alan Quatermain. The film was envisioned as an homage to classic pulp adventure tales, and Michael Crichton successfully pitched the movie to 20th Century Fox in 1979 without a fleshed out story. Crichton left the project when he learned he could not use a real gorilla to portray the character of Amy. It was offered to several directors, including Steven Spielberg and John Carpenter. A brief attempt was made to revive the project in the late 80s. Okay, this is what I probably remember. Eventually, Frank Marshall directed the film with little, if any, involvement from Crichton. The film's teaser credits the screenwriters as John Patrick Shanley and Michael Crichton, but the trailer and the film itself credit went to Shanley, John Patrick Shanley alone. And they ended up shooting it in Pasadena, California, originally wanting to shoot it in the Dominican Republic. And the gorilla suits for Amy, the mountain gorilla, and the gray gorillas, as well as the hippopotamus puppet, were created by Stan Winston's company, Stan Winston Studios. It was estimated to gross $15 million in its opening weekend, but it surprised the industry when it grossed more than that, $10 million more than that, placing itself at number one at the U.S. box office ahead of Casper. Yes, they did that. Casper the Friendly Ghost. Was that probably an early CGI movie? Let's see. 95. Was that around the time of Toy Story? And maybe Toy Story was a little later. Casper was probably just regular animation with a couple of highlighted things, a la the basketball movie, the Space Jam thing. But it was overtaken by Batman Forever during its second weekend. The worldwide gross was, let's see, $152 million. The budget was $50 million. So I guess they made a profit, but you don't hear much about it anymore. I guess it has an approval rating of 23% on Rotten Tomatoes. Some people call it a goofy pleasure. There was a video game based on it as well. Well, that's all I have. Except this wonderful person meeting with me outside a Café Anyway, somewhere in PodCastro Valley, the last place on earth in the land of Ameritopica. We're broadcasting from Café Anyway. Look who's here. Hello, Mega Master. It's Madame Rootabega, and I hate Pop-Tarts. Ooh. Do you like movies set in a jungle? Yes. Do you like movies with Sean Connery? Yes. Did you like the Blues Brothers? No. Oh my gosh, that movie was awesome. So I have two people that were important in my life. My dad, he was in the Blues Brothers. If you go to the scene where there's that lounge where the Blues Brothers are recruiting the keyboard player, originally it was supposed to be Paul Schaefer because he worked on the original album for the Blues Brothers, which has some kind of affiliation to Steve Martin and the guy that we had on a couple months back, Nathan McEwen. His uncle, his name was William McEwen, who recently passed away. He produced the Steve Martin album that had all the banjo playing. And then I think he had something to do with the Blues Brothers album. I may not be correct with that. I do know the Blues Brothers opened for Steve Martin somewhere in like the Universal Amphitheater back in the late 70s. Steve Martin was huge. He was being seen on Saturday Night Live all the time. He would have the Blues Brothers open for him when he would, or be on the show on Saturday Night Live, because the guys were already on. Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi were the Blues Brothers, and they were on Saturday Night Live. So there's some kind of strange connection there. So my dad's in the lounge scene. You can see him for a couple seconds. But I think the Blues Brothers employed just about everybody on the planet at one point, because they did have some huge concert footage with Cab Calloway in there, shot at the Palladium in Hollywood. And then there was these big scenes in Chicago where people are running down the street. It looked like every possible person in Chicago was being employed for this or being filmed. And then later, the cars that you see towards the end of the movie that are flying through the air. My mom's second husband. So her first husband is in the lounge scene. The second husband was the guy, he made the model cars that they threw in the air and filmed and made it look like they were flying. They actually did drop a Pinto, the one that the Nazis are in. They did drop that from a helicopter. Not with the Nazis actually in there, but there is a scene where I think they call it the Bluesmobile is flying through the air. That was designed by either my stepfather designed it, or he had something to do with building that and creating that scene. But there you go. Fascinating. Make sure you don't eat as many Pop-Tarts as you want to, because I know you want to eat a whole bunch. Just stick to maybe one, maybe half of one. It'd be smarter. Look who else is here.
Hello there, Mike. This is Valentino, the parking attendant.
And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that?
Mike, I've never seen the Blues Brothers.
Yeah, Blues Brothers. Do you know that? Well, you kind of had a Chicago thing going on, so I thought maybe you would see that, have seen it at some point. I have not seen the second one they made called Blues Brothers 2000. That just looks horrible. I've seen little bits and pieces, and there's Eric Clapton in there, and they brought back Aretha Franklin and James Brown. That's cool, okay, but overall it looked like just a terrible movie. John Goodman. From what I heard, they tried to make it more for kids, and that really hampered the filming. Dan Aykroyd wasn't really happy with that. So, do you know who Dan Aykroyd is?
Yeah, he seems like some cool guy that's very interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, he believes in ghosts. Do you know that? He does. Ghostbusters, that's his thing. All because of Dan Aykroyd. And that other show that has to do with psychic phenomenon and all that. I think he's got several degrees in psychology or some weird thing. All right, well, that's the end of the show. What did you think about anything? Did I miss something? Here's the number to call.
Call Mike at the Café Anyway hotline. Area code 510-228-4640. Will you shut ups? Liberty Nation Freedom Foam for All.
Even though I've fallen from grace to Trump's third favorite weird sidekick.
And with all things having to do with Mike's Daily Podcast, we go to the mainframe and hear from A-Frame. Thank you for listening to this show that I did just now.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com.
Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com.
See you tomorrow. Bye.